Hello everyone, today I am going to try and show you my new build that I made for the new League in Path of Exile 3.28. This is my first build guide and this kind of sort of video. And first I wanna put a disclaimer that I do not 100% recommend this build. You should play it at your own risk if you do decide to play it, and I recommend at least knowing a lot about the game and about the skill itself. I also haven't tested this skill yet, or how this build will function. This is purely on paper, but it should be good in practice as well. So, first thing, let's talk about the skill. We are using Wild Strike of Extremes. It's a melee strike skill that converts fizz damage to a random element. Then, depending on the element chosen, it releases blah blah blah. That doesn't matter, because we are playing Energy Blade. This is a life stacking Energy Blade build that inverts enemy resistances. The skill itself, also after you strike, it releases one out of three things. First is Fire Explosion, Lightning Bolt, and Icy Wave. They all deal the same damage, and it doesn't matter if we lightning hit, cold hit, or fire hit, because of the Energy Blade. We aren't dealing any physical damage, so all our damage is lightning, so we can only pick, so we pick any of them, but it's still lightning damage. I have it here twice, because first is the hit, and the second is the one of the three things. Alright. You might be wondering why I have close combat in here. So, this league, they are introducing the new coins that will imbue, or whatever they call it, your main skill gem with a random support gem. And one of them that could be good for this is close combat. It will give us around 6 minutes, but it doesn't matter right now. Close combat or fortify could be really good, so that's I have one more in here than there should be, right? You can also go with level 21 skill gem, but I think the imbued one might be, or it will be much better. Alright, let's talk about the most important tech on this build before we tackle anything else. So how does this build actually function? So first thing first, we basically have Rakiata's Dance on our skill. So what we are trying to do is juice up the enemy resistances as much as possible. So we take the Rune Graft of Treachery, which affects enemies with our own auras. For that, we use Purity of Lightning, which will effectively make the enemy have always, or most of the time, at least 79 lightning resistance, which is then inverted, and it results in enemies having minus 79 resistance. This also scales with penetration, but be careful if you use any sort of a curse that lowers the enemy resistances, you will be lowering your damage. Let's talk about the life stacking. And why do I have 5.6k energy shield and 14k life? That is because we are using a Foulborn Ghost Ride. This leak, they kind of nerfed it from 50% to 40%, but it doesn't matter, it's still really strong in my opinion. This means that you cannot increase your maximum like energy shield. It's on a flat value that cannot be increased by anything else other than life. So we are scaling a lot of life. You can see that I have 14k life right now, and that's because we have every single mastery on the tree, of course, and we have life on everything we basically can. Now, what else can we do with this life? We can use the Rapid Globe, which gives us increased spell damage per max life. This is a really strong shield and one of the best items in the game in my opinion. Now we scale spell damage because we can use that spell damage as attack damage because of this item, Crown of Ice. Increases and reductions to spell damage also apply to attacks at 150% of their value. These three items are the core of this build. Without them, this is non-functional and don't play it. Okay, let's talk about the ascendancy. Why do I have 1.4 million effective hit pool? That is because we are playing Gladiator. This is one of the strongest ascendancies in my opinion, at least for tankiness. Chance to block, attack or spell damage is lucky if you blocked recently. This, when you block, puts us at roughly 95% block chance and 95% spell block chance, which is giga strong. As you can see, if we remove this, we still have 150k hit pool because we have a really big amount of hit pool from energy shield and life. So even if you don't block, you should not die to basically anything other than like a giga fist slam. Okay? We aren't scaling much armor because I feel like it's useless. I don't think you really need it all that much. Let's talk a bit about the tree. So, as you can notice, I have only one cluster jewel here, and basically almost nothing but life on here. That's because you don't have to scale a lot from the tree other than life. The cluster jewel is very important on this build. It gives us ally damage as life leech and lightning damage as energy shield leech. Now, leech is really nice, of course, but why is it so important on this build? It's because Wild Strike of Extremes casts life, energy shield, and mana. Now, if you've probably noticed, as you should have, I have blood magic as well. So we have no mana, and it costs even more life to cast the skill. Or attack with the skill. So life and energy shield leech is really good. Let's talk a bit about the gear and the jewels. So in your main hand slot, you will always have any one-handed weapon that has an abyssal socket. It doesn't have any stats because you are using energy blade, of course. So it doesn't matter what you have in here, but the best thing to have is to have an abyssal socket on it. As our shield, you have Rapid Globe, of course. Crown of Ice, and Fallborn Ghostwraith. In gloves, we have as much life as you can get, and some chaos resistance, ideally. The armor, it doesn't matter. The cold damage, it doesn't matter. And the attack speed is just nice to have. Boots, max life, as much as you can, of course. Movement speed and some killer resistances that you will need. As our rank, you might think this is a little weird, but it is weird. So in our ring slot, we don't really need anything other than life. We want to stack as much life as possible because we increase it by a lot. How do you get this ring? It's pretty simple. It should be on trade. It shouldn't be that expensive. It's a misted ring that you drop from the reflective mist. I think this is pretty achievable, and it might come with some downsides, like damage dealt to you by enemies and stuff like that. But we don't really care about it because we have a lot of hit pool and nothing can really touch us at all. And as our build, this is a lot of resistances, sure, but you can cap it on jewels. I just put it in here because it's just a filler slot, and as much max life as possible, of course, because max life equals damage. Let's talk about the jewels and flasks. So the jewels are really important. First, we have the cluster jewel, which we really need for our leech. Then we are using the Fallborn Red Dream, which grants us increased max life based on fire resistance and all rest in the area. So as you can see, when we remove this, we lose about 2k max life. We want to tattoo as much fire resistances in the area as possible. And we also take this plus 15 to all elemental resistance. It's not core item, you can play without it, but it's really nice to have. Then we are using Resolution of Flesh. Now this is a weird one. How come we have energy shield when we are using Dissolution of the Flesh? Well, it appears that the Fallborn Ghostwraith actually has priority over Dissolution of the Flesh. So this gem, or I mean jewel, all it does is give us 30% more maximum life. Now how about the life that will be lost by taking damage is instead reserved? We don't really care about it because we have so much energy shield and life that even if something passes it, we then block the next attack and nothing will touch us for the 2 seconds that we need to not be hit because we have 95% block chance on everything. So this is just basically a pure 30% more maximum life buff. It's really strong. And the most important ones are Forbidden Flesh and Forbidden Flame. Now, why is it so important? It's because we are taking Vortifo. We really need it because we have around 90% hit chance without it. Now, you can instead use a tree like this, where you take accuracy rating and even more accuracy rating, and we are not at 100%. Well, I don't really think that's true. I will need to fix this. But when you can get any more accuracy rating on like jewels or some piece of equipment, other than your core ones, then you should be capped at 100% hit chance without spending a lot of money on the jewels. Now, why aren't we taking, instead of stacking a little bit of accuracy, we aren't taking a result technique? It's because we are a crit build. We use power charges and we go crit gladiator. Okay, so that's the jewels. Now let's talk about the flasks. Flasks are, it depends. You can choose any flasks you want. That you can use a bismuth flask to cap your resistances, or you can use silver, diamond, and quicksilver. I recommend, or at least in this build I put, diamond flask is really important as it gives us a lot of crit chance that we need. And we are using a bottled faith. This slot is whatever. It's whatever you have the money to spend on, you can put in here. You can also put in a Pyrogenesis, which even boosts your effective hit pool even much higher than it was before. Then there's Quicksilver, of course, because everybody likes movement speed, and Silver for Onslaught and the 3% life regen per second. This is a pretty nice mod, because we are also using Blood Rage. Let's talk a bit about the skills before I talk about Mageblood. So we are using Bell Strikes of Extremes with multi-strike, of course. It's a go-to super gem. I don't have Awakened multi-strike in here because I'm not sure what the multi-strike will be, the new one in this patch. I did put Awakened Elemental damage with attacks, but I predict that it's going to be, the greater version is going to be pretty much unchanged, and it's going to be really similar. Volatility. Volatility is really good because we are using, I forgot to talk about this, Fallborn Loris Lantern. This ring gives us lucky damage and increased attack speed while we are on low life. We are always on low life because we reserve 48% of our life, and you need to reserve at least 55 because of the life master. So we have lucky damage, and volatility is really good. Then we have increased critical damage and increased crit. If you somehow can get enough crit to not have to use this gun, then you don't have to put it in here, and you can choose something else, like close combat or a fortification super gem. Then we are using a shield charge with faster attacks, of course. Our gems, or auras. We are using precision because of critical strike chance, so we can cap our crit easier. Then we are using Petrified Blood. Petrified Blood is really nice as it gives us a lot of effective hit pool, and the way the skill functions is it's a little too difficult to explain, at least for me with my levels of English. So I'm gonna just keep it at that. Maybe do some research on your own if you are curious how this aura works. Then we are using Tempest Shield to cap our spell block chance. This gives us a lot of effective hit pool because spell block chance is really nice to have, especially against bosses. Then we are using Purity of Lightning, as I said at the start, so we can increase our enemies' resistances, so we can invert it and deal more damage. We are supporting it with Eternal Blessing because Eternal Blessing allows you to have more auras because we are using blood magic. When you use blood magic and Eternal Blessing, you have basically one free aura. And this is the best one to have because it reserves 35% of maximum mana, or in this case life, which is the most on this build. Then we are using Blood Rage. The degen from Blood Rage is pretty heavy because we have a lot of energy shield and a lot of life. So hence the regen 3% of life per second during effect. And we are using the Tukohama Minor God to regen even more percent of life while stationary. Then we are using Mark on Hit, Assassin's Mark. Assassin's Mark is really nice for us because we can get power charges thanks to this gem, which increases our crit chance. And it even grants us life and mana when we kill enemies. We don't care about the mana because we are a blood magic, of course. Then summon Spectral Tiger, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And Wild Strike of Extremes again, because we have Lightning Hit and Lightning Bolt, or anything else other than these, because they do the same damage and it functions the same way. We are using the Faru Bloodline because we summon Spectral Tiger on crit and we crit a lot, and it gives us even more crit chance and attack speed. This is really nice because we are in dire need of attack speed on this build. It doesn't have much of it, but I don't think that's a problem because we hit hard. I think I forgot to talk about Amulet. Yeah, I did. On Amulet, you again want as much life or strength as possible. We also want crit mode, which is nice. Spell damage is nice. +1 to lightning skill gems is nice. And we anointed it with a Brutal Blade. Why Brutal Blade? Well, Brutal Blade gives us a frenzy charge when we block attack damage. So this allows us to gain frenzy charges on this build, which is very nice. You can also, instead of that, anoint Tenacity, which gives you increased max life and transfiguration of body, which will increase our attack damage by how much we scale our max life. I'm not sure which one is better, but I like frenzy charges, so I went for frenzy charges instead. This leak, you have the option to, instead of taking Stygian Vice and putting like whatever, like max life resist jewels in it, you can take the one that you can anoint and instead take the Brutal Blade and Tenacity as well. That is an option, but I'm not sure how much the build will cost. If it will be if it will be a very expensive base or not. Okay, we are almost done, but one last thing I think I need to talk about is Mageblood. Mageblood is basically the final upgrade for this build, I would say. It can function without it, but Mageblood is just really nice because it gives us a lot of movement speed. With it we have 190 and without it we have 118. We of course use Quicksilver, Diamond, Silver and Bismuth to cap our resistances, so we don't have to worry about the resistances as much as before. And again, we can put Progenesis instead of Bottle Fate to cap our Chaos Res. But that is pretty expensive. Mageblood itself is pretty expensive. And we can look at the config as well. So we are always on low life, which gives us lucky damage and attack speed. Time spent stationary, I put 1 because you just do usually attack for like 1 second at least, which gives us fist damage reduction additional because of minor god. We use power charges from Assassin's Mark, so we have more crit chance. When we take it off, we still have 100% crit chance, but I won't be fooled by that, because then if we turn off more stuff like increased critical strikes, it goes down a lot. So I think it's really nice to have power charges. We use frenzy charges because of the unwind. We have onslaught. Rapid mode is average because of multi-strike. We have 20 rage, which I think is pretty sustainable. I don't want to put 30 because I don't usually see myself being at 30 rage all the time in maps. So I'd rather put it at 20, which is more realistic. We have blocked recently. This is pretty important, but even if we don't block, we still have a lot of hit pool, as I said. So this build is really tanky. The enemy is taunted, which we need from the champion ascendancy. I put 25% shock because I don't want to put too much, and I feel like this is fair for calculating the actual DPS. And in here I put 79 enemy lightning resistance because Purity of Lightning gets +4 to max. And I think that's about it. Yeah. So I hope you like this build guide. It's my first time doing this kind of thing. If you have any questions, then you can write down in the comments. And if you want to see more, you can like the video to let me know that I should make more. I apologize for my English, it's not very good. I wasn't born in England or America, so it's not native to me, but I'm trying my best. Alright, thank you everyone for watching, goodbye.